Guys, I'm super excited to be here with both Tobin and Angela. Tobin is a quantum shaman, owns Temple Qinesis, which gives a new and innovative take on health and fitness overall. His perspectives and his philosophies on life and health are none that I've ever seen before, and not many people are doing this. And Angela is a over 500-hour certified yoga teacher, Reiki spiritual healer, who is just so has a deep knowledge on energy and has traveled to Guatemala and India really learning these practices. So without further ado, I want to welcome both Tobin and Angela to LNB TV. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Guys, this is just really great because I know a lot of people in the audience, care about this topic, yet it's hard to find people that are knowledgeable in this and can also back it up with like information and effort. And so real quick, it's just starting off with Angela. For the audience who may be unfamiliar with like who you are and your background, fill us in a little bit more about who you are and what you're up to.
Sure. Well, my life started out, the first half of my life, I was an actor. I was actually a stage actor, so I was all about being on stage, and I ended up leaving my regional high school at the end and heading over to California and pursuing theater and graduating with a little theater degree from a high school over there. And then I landed in Chicago, Illinois at a theater school where I was performing and pursuing a BFA in the theater arts. And through this whole journey, I was actually struggling with an autoimmune illness, which was later diagnosed as Lyme disease, which I know a lot of people on the East Coast actually struggle with. But we didn't know it was Lyme disease for a really long time, so I was going from doctor to doctor and medicine to medicine. Nobody knew what was wrong. And in college, early on, we got the diagnosis. I had Lyme disease. I was figuring out how to deal with it. I was pursuing a theater education, and we had a yoga class. They gave yoga to the actors, and in about a week of doing yoga for the first time ever, yoga and the universe and the cosmos healed all of the things that just were not going away, all of the persistent residuals that the medication couldn't yet kick out. And the Western medicine, it did great. It saved my life, actually. But yoga came in and kind of gave that push of, no, there's a lot more you can do. It took me to the next level, and I healed myself from that. And I went, well, okay, this is what I want to bring to the world. And
amazing.
Yeah, and that's the journey.
We're gonna come back to that. And Tobin, same question. For the audience who may be unfamiliar with you, your background, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you're up to.
Yep, Tobin Osusky. Also work with Angela. We just came back together after a long time since we had met the first time. We came together in an artist collective, and now we're working together healing the community, which is more appropriate, I'd say, for now. My personal story, I was a lifelong athlete, and 2 days before I was supposed to graduate high school, I was in a catastrophic car accident, broke my neck, my back. I had third-degree burns on a fair amount of my body, swallowed a lot of the scalding gasoline. So for me, I was at the peak of potential and then thrown down to the bottom of rock bottom. Like when people get to rock bottom, I was below that, like at the bottom of the rocks that sit at rock bottom. And I could barely breathe, so to me, breath became everything. And it reanimated my body, cell by cell, neuron by neuron. Not only did I heal myself back to the average state, but way beyond my potential even before. And I had won Athlete of the Year for the high school I was in. I was on academic scholarship to college. And then I had nothing. I had severe brain injury, I had broken body, and I had to heal back. And now, at this point, just through doing it the right way and studying outside of the realm of modern science, bringing back in the ancient sciences and integrating the two and creating an amorphous blend. That's how I got back to where I am. That's how I became who I am today and created the businesses that I'm creating.
Amazing.
Thank you.
And something I want to ask you, Angela, too, is walk me through, now that you've just started to discover yoga, right, at that time in your life. Walk me through what guided you to diving deeper into, a 500-hour certification, traveling around the world. Walk me through that experience and some of the things you learned from it.
Well, really, it was realizing how much potential the human being actually has. Before that, I really didn't believe in anything, not even myself. So with that realization, that gave me the fire to go, okay, there is something more happening here. There's something more we can do to ourselves, to this world, and I need to explore it. And that led me back to the ancients, to the ancient knowledge. It's where yoga comes from. So the first place, so then I started on my own self-healing journey. That began after college. I continued, I got the BFA, and I left. And I went to India for the first time. I ended up in northern India, in Rishikesh, which is the yoga capital of the world. It was beautiful and amazing, and that was my 200-hour yoga certification. And yeah, I picked up all the books, the Bhagavad Gita, all the classic texts, and I was just, my mind was blown. The things that they were talking about that existed, the things that we can do. And even just reading and practicing yoga, everything just started healing. I mean, literally the relationships I was having. So I met amazing teachers over there that really put into perspective these deep perspectives, these deeper truths, and really started to awaken something in me that in all of us that's dormant. I couldn't stop. So I went to India, and then from India, I stopped home real quick, and then I went to Guatemala, and I studied energetic medicine, so healing, Reiki healing, shamanic healing. That was awesome, and then did some more yoga, and obtained my 500-hour yoga certification. And Rob was asking before, what makes the difference between the 200-hour certification and a 500-hour certification? And I kind of said that the 200 hours very introductory and kind of says, this is yoga, here's the postures, here's what it is. And the 500-hour actually takes you yourself individually to the next level so that you can become the teacher and healer that you should be. So I ended up back in India for some time, and now I'm back and ready.
Amazing. And what about you, Tobin? How did you, so as you started to guide yourself back from this catastrophic experience, right? Walk us through, because you really had that learning in doing, right? By doing, you were able to learn, and both of you in that way, yoga's helped Angela heal, and then that allowed her to continue to explore. Guide us through how you learned through that experience and then continue to gain knowledge, 15 years now after, the accident.
Number one is help. Accepting help, being aware of help from other people, and that's why LNB is so good, and I linked up right away. I didn't even know you. I knew Joni, and that was, I think, a very thin relationship for you guys at this point. It's broadened since. But right after the accident, I was thrust into college. I didn't want to get out of bed. My mother forced me to get up and walk the length of the driveway back and forth, and I was winded doing that, so she helped me get off my ass. I went to college and I was thrust into a curriculum basically pre-med, exercise science, kinesiology. So I was studying anatomy. I had to learn 240 terms every 2 weeks, then erase my mind and relearn.
Right.
I couldn't even remember my name if I wrote it on a piece of paper. So I was working with athletic trainers, clinical psychologists, academic advisors, any person that I could take help from. I was ready to take it, where that's definitely the wake up. Before that, I had all the potential. I came up with all the answers. I could do anything 3 times as fast as anybody that might potentially help me. So the humbling in me, in my spirit after the accident, allowed me to get all the help that I needed because I was able to ask for it, and I was open to asking for it, and that's what takes us all to the next level.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate you both for sharing that, because the reason why I ask those questions is so the audience can know a little bit more about your background, so that now as we dive into more of the meat and potatoes of these different teachings, people know where you guys, got your expertise. And the first question I want to ask Tobin, just piggybacking off what you just said, because I think it's important, is this idea of asking for help, right? And initially, it makes sense, right? If I could ask for help, then good things would happen to me. I'd have more support. Maybe I could accomplish my goals better. Yet, we all have such a hard time asking for help. And I want to go through, is there a way to ask for help in the right way? How do you get over those emotional feelings of, why would anybody want to help me, right? And also feeling vulnerable and, weak and, to ask your help and put yourself in that position. So I think, before we even dive into more of the ancient teachings, just something that I think is very practical, right? Everyone here watching right now can use help in some way, right? We all could use a little bit of help, so yeah, how do you reach out for help in the right way?
So there's a lot to that, right? It's pushing our ego out of the way, or getting control over it, some type of mastery. I have a feeling Angela's going to touch on this a little bit because we discuss this often. Magic comes in, and when I say magic, I mean next level energy manifestation, if that makes any sense to you. Potential manifesting itself in reality is what I call magic. Magic needs a space to allow itself to come in, or we are human bodies, right? We're biological forms all put together, cells, muscles, bones. I think Wayne Dwyer said this, right? The body comes together in such a miraculous way that it opens up a space for the spirit to dwell in. I think everything has that. I believe our ideas have that. I believe we're ideas in a grander scheme of understanding and perception. Without the space created within ourselves, we cannot allow that spirit to flourish, or that flow of the universal energy to flow through us, or our ideas and the concepts we've created, whether in our dreams or in this physical reality. So the first step to asking for help is being self-aware and creating that space within the self, deflating the ego so there's an opportunity for the spirit to grow. And that's when the help comes. Your humility sinks into that space as the foundation, as the root chakra, if we want to call it. And the help starts arriving, and then our self-awareness allows us to receive it, I would say.
I appreciate that. And guys, please, if you guys have questions as the discussion continues, please write them in the comments. The team will be in my ear letting me know if there's any particular questions for me to ask. And I do want to have a live call-in opportunity here. So I would like the team in the back to have the number so that you guys have the ability to call. Should we get a live call-in, we'll be able to field that question. But I think this would be a really great time to also take some live comments as well. And for Angela, as I've started to stretch more, right? Even do beginner's yoga, right? I went to like a Kundalini yoga like a week and a half ago or something. I think Joan was there actually.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I loved it. And what I've learned from my yoga experience, which again is very beginner, is this idea of regaining control and this idea of like mental discipline, right? And I think that prior to even doing basic yoga and basic stretches, you get away from that level of focus that yoga allows you to reach when you are doing certain poses. You may be in pain, right? This idea that you're not your mind or your body, right? So how does yoga as a practice or exercise for someone that is like, oh, yoga, like that doesn't look like it's going to benefit me at all, right? Like I don't see how that could affect my mind. I don't see how that can make me happier. I don't see how that could help me heal myself. How does yoga help us do those things?
Okay, so yoga, the word yoga in itself means union. So union comes from unity. So you hear people say a union of the mind, the body, and the spirit, because essentially that's exactly what it is. And in modern day society and working the jobs that we work, going to the schools, gaining our certain education, we actually haven't been given the chance or opportunity to be with ourselves at all, like our actual selves. And we know who that self is when we're alone in our room or we're singing and dancing in the shower. And yoga is that opportunity to unify yourself with yourself. And ultimately that self is also connected to the whole rest of the world, and that's where the union comes. It's about gaining and stretching and working out your consciousness, your awareness to your body and to your cells and to your ability. And all of the specific techniques of yoga help implement that. So they help bring in that expansion, breath, expansion, mantra, sound, vibration. When we sing, we feel happy, expression, all of these things activate a certain energy in us that isn't necessarily there on our day-to-day basis. We've all meditated without knowing that we're meditating, and we're out and we're in that moment, and we're traveling and we're having dreams and goals and things are coming, and then someone goes, hello, are you there? And it takes us out of that space. So yoga puts us back into that space, and it challenges us. So anything that challenges us brings more awareness and openness. So yeah, I think it's really, it gives you that opportunity and that connection with yourself, and it's a science. People ask me, they get all mystical and magical and oh, woo-wah, wee-wah, and it makes me giggle because it's an actual body and mind science. It's an ancient body and mind science that's been around for a really, really long time. And just like there's a science on how to do this and how to do that, this is just a science on how to properly take care of your body and your mind. And when you're in that space, yoga puts you into that space, and that hopefully you hold that space throughout, throughout your days. And essentially, from that space, we can direct consciousness and direct the flow of everyone else around us, and you really just start to affect change in yourself and in the world. And from that space is self-healing. And I think that that's really the importance of yoga. Is I always say it's time to reclaim our health. And a lot of people have talked about the benefits of yoga, and it is reclaiming your health and not necessarily having to run to the doctor every single time you need something. Instead, just sit and meditate, come back to yourself, connect, and watch what happens.
And something I want to touch on with both of you guys is this topic of breathing, right? So first I'm going to start with Angela. Is where does breathing play into yoga, becoming present, collecting your energy, the Reiki healing, right? Where does breathing play into our energy being?
Right. So breath itself is the tool. It's not the energy, it's the tool. It's what creates the energy. I think that's where people sometimes get confused. So in yoga, there's the practice of pranayama. So we have prana, which is itself universal energy. We've heard chi or ki, and ayama, which is expansion and control. So it's about becoming conscious of our breath and of our energy. So the breath is the tool to bring in the energy, to bring in the prana. So we've all taken that nice deep breath, and automatically we're centered and we're in that space of oneness, and we're able to make a better decision. So really, essentially, breath is a tool. It's the tool to the universal energy.
And something I want to bring up when I'm with you, Tobin, too, someone that also is very passionate and evangelical on breath. Walk me through, before we get into the ancient science, of how breath helped you during your accident and post-accident in your healing process.
So very importantly, she said it's the tool. It's the tool. I had a broken hammer after my accident, trying to nail nails into a board. You know what I'm saying? I could barely breathe. That was the most important thing, and it's still to this day. If you've come to my gym, I probably said it to you 50 times. Breathe, and you'll hear that all day long. That's what I had to tell myself for months. I had literally third-degree burns. When you see people's skin peeling off and bubbling, that was inside of my throat and esophagus. So breath to me is all there is. Since that day, since those first few days that I woke up again in my body, I have not been Tobin, I have not been a human necessarily, I've been a conduit for breath, and I've been retraining my mechanics since to allow breath to flow better through my body, to activate my dormant potential, my cellular reproduction, or my repair. And that's really where it affected me, was charging my bloodstream with extra oxygen through hemoglobin. This is science, and that's what allowed my tissues to heal quicker. Still to this day, whether it was the fact that I had limited breath and had to force my breath in with intention attached so that I would heal or be able to just talk and breathe and see again. Now, I just got a blood test this summer to check this all out. My hemoglobin, resting hemoglobin level, are 3 to 7 times higher than the average person at any given time. So it's a superpower that I found at my worst state in my life that allowed me to just live again, but it's become an actual superpower 15 years later.
Amazing. And what does that superpower allow you to do for somebody else watching that maybe like, I don't even know what hemoglobin is?
Yeah, so hemoglobin facilitates oxygen delivery through our bloodstream to every cell in our body, every tissue in our body, which means when my heart starts pumping, or anybody for that matter that has a higher hemoglobin level, or that breathes intentionally and is making a change to their blood content and their lung capacity, our muscles have more potential to fire, which means when we ask our body to do something, jump, do a backflip, repair itself, heal an injury, we're going to have increased blood flow to that area, one, neurologically, and two, genetically, because our DNA has reprogrammed itself from now on, right? Because blood is in the DNA. So if we're affecting the blood, it's affecting everything in that system, right? Somebody's affected in North Korea, we feel it in the United States, and we're very concerned with what's going on. Our whole world's connected, just like the whole body's connected. And what's really cool, we don't need Richard Branson to fly Virgin airplanes all around our planet. We have our breath. And that can deliver any message and any intention to any cell in your body because it's yours. And we've forgotten that as a species, I believe. I was forced to remember that all my cells were listening to me because they were traumatized and I could feel them, I could hear them screaming at me. The only way I could calm them down was through intentional, relaxed breath. Not a, that didn't do anything for me. It was that deepest breath I had ever had a chance to take and then appreciate it. And that's what charged my body up in my cells and left me in this state.
Mm-hmm. And something I think so beautiful is this idea of like quantum physics, quantum fitness, quantum health, right? And even more so for people who are unfamiliar with that is this idea of subatomic particles, which is like quantum energy, which is essentially, as modern science is coming to find out, is the actual foundational element of energy overall. And to kind of, parlay both of you guys here is how, I want to combine like the Reiki healing, where through energy, how can one heal? And then also with Tobin, leveraging the NLP aspects of that, how our words create energy for ourselves, right? And I want to find that silver lining between both of them. So with Angela, right, so now you're going over to Guatemala and you're working with these different shamans. For someone that may be unfamiliar with like Reiki healing and energetic healing or alternative medicine overall, right? How could somebody, heal themselves through energy?
Exactly what you just said. First, I want to pretext with that. I'm not a healer, right? We're all healers. We all have the ability to self-heal. That's the goal here, is to wake the body and mind up, to remember that you can heal yourself. So basically, to put it plain and simple, I'm a conduit, and together we're a circuit. So if you want to talk in terms of energy, that's exactly how it happens. So that prana, that chi, that ki, that universal life force energy, when one side of the circuit and another side of the circuit can get themselves to a relaxed, again, meditative state, that energy is able to flow. That energy itself is conscious, aware, and much more intuitively knowledgeable than anything that exists, because it is everything. So it knows where to go in your body, what pattern to unlock, what to do in itself. And all we do is just become a relaxed circuit to allow that energy to flow, just like in yoga or anything else. And Reiki and stuff like that, the room is set up much like a massage room. So it's just to get your body and your mind to an unbelievably relaxed state, which in your day-to-day we're not used to doing. We're not used to taking conscious breath. We're breathing so shallow. So it's really just to do that. And it feels good when we get a hug or when we have that like kind of mother energy come in. So it's just creating the space for that to happen.
And now, Tobin, on the psychological level, how do we find what our self-talk is manifesting itself energetically into our body?
I literally just had this conversation before I came here today, so I'm happy you brought this up. I had a gentleman, he's very overweight, and he's been with me for about 2 months now, and he likes to play full contact football on the weekends. This weekend, he smashed up his knee, came up to me today with like this type of energy. And I immediately smiled. Whatever day I was having, I knew that he needed to pick me up, and I saw he had his brace on his knee, and he's telling me, I think it's ACL, it's this and that. And I stopped him immediately, and this is the point that Rob brought up. He was speaking indirectly to his knee and every cell in his body that was sending blood and energy and flow and lymph and electrical signals through his nervous system to that knee, and he was charging it with, this sucks, you suck, you're hurt, I can't do anything with you. And I had to stop him immediately and say, listen, man, I know you don't have children, but these are your children, and you need to realize that that's a weak reader right now, and it doesn't need you telling it how bad it is. It needs your help, it needs your support, it needs your compassion. These are our cells. And then I went on and I asked him, I said, are you a religious guy? And he actually said no, so I was able to kind of spin it around. Because the way I see it is, if you're a religious person or you believe in a higher power, a higher force, we're all cells in the body of that consciousness, okay? Whether you believe that or not, say you have children or you have nieces and nephews or you have 2 pets or you have multiple loved ones in your life, you would never, when someone is suffering or struggling, ignore them or tell them how stupid they're being. You would give them compassion and understanding and intention and attention and what they need to heal themselves. So when it comes to self-talk, the most important thing I can say right now is every cell in your body wants you to acknowledge it. It wants to know that you love it, that you care for it. And I don't mean love like romantic, give me chocolates, let's go out on a date. I mean love like you're mine, you're everything I'm here for. You're the only thing I'm meant to be connected with in this life. And the more we connect with our individual selves, the outside world reflects us, okay? The inner universe creates the outer universe. Mind creates matter, it's more than that. Your connection from your mind to the matter within your skin is going to manifest the potential for your universe to connect outside of your skin.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way I can say.
Those, thoughts are vibrations, so, and frequency, and words are vibration and frequency. So it starts with that thought, which creates that vibration, which affects everything else. So that's how it works. Vibrations.
And something too, we talked about this on LNB TV before, is the idea of the word trying. And again, I'm going to go back to Tobin because I've done a couple workouts with Tobin at his studio, Temple Qinesis. And, a lot of different exercises in Temple Qinesis are not very much focused on the aesthetic as much as it is mastering your body and becoming strong the right way by allowing your body to do what it's meant to do. Right, and so this manifests itself in more like HIIT training exercises, body weight exercises, CrossFit type training. Obviously, you can still do like heavy weights and whatnot. But something that I appreciate from working out with Tobin is his diligency to controlling the language in his gym. And I want to talk with you about that. Is why do you control the language in your gym? What is not allowed to be said in your gym? Why is it not allowed to be said in your gym? And because what we got some feedback here is people want us to connect, as much as we can, the micro with the macro, right? So the big macro aspects of like why this is important, and really being able to distill it down to people in the micro of like this, what it looks like every day, right? So something in this example is boiling it down, distilling it from the macro. What does this look like, this new language, this quantum fitness, this positive self-talk, this energy? How does that manifest itself as we're working out, as we're stretching, as we're doing yoga,
For all of you guys, you no longer ever in your life, and you need to hold yourself accountable to this, use the word can't or cannot. It does not make any sense. If you try to make sense out of it, you'll realize that you have found a solution to the problem that you can't do. We don't allow that to be said in the gym. We've been around 7 years now. I will kick members out if they say it more often than once after I've said something to them, because it's toxic to everybody. Everybody in the community, if they hear the word can't, that registers in their subconscious from every person they ever cared about that told them they couldn't do something that they wanted to do. It stays with us on an unconscious level the rest of our lives. So I encourage you all to program that word out of your life and replace it with can, or I will, or I am doing. He said something earlier about trying. And I thought you were referencing a painting in my place, which is funny.
Really?
We have a painting of Yoda, and I was not a big Star Wars fan, but I saw this in like Walmart one day. It says, do or do not, there is no try. And I had to go back and watch the movies because I hadn't really watched them that much. And he says it when Luke Skywalker is trying to like lift a spaceship out of a swamp or something. He's like, I can't. And that's every person in my gym every day, especially in the first month or two, because we are all used to this. We'll all allow each other to say this, and that's the most toxic word our society has ever experienced. If I had one superpower that manifested instantly, full expression right now, I would be a time traveler and go back to the first person who said the word can't. And I'm not a violent person, but I would slap that person and ask them to use a different term. And because it's planted a seed in our society that's only led to destruction or limitation, I should say, or disbelief in our true potential.
Amazing, and I'm going to continue diving into that. I want to, whether we're going to pin it in the comments here, I saw that they just flashed the live call-in number, but it's 973-475-5056. I see Isaac in the comments, Myra, Brian, Peter, what's going on, guys? Owen, Cal, nice to see you. Natalie, Thank you for coming in again. But I think these are the types of questions that we want to facilitate, guys. You know, if you're unfamiliar with this type of knowledge, if you guys have questions about how this can mean something for you specifically, we definitely would love to invite you to call in 973-475-5056. And just to dive deeper into what Tobin was saying with that word trying, maybe for some of our viewers that were not around for our LNB TV show, when we talked about, the quantum physics of our words, and it's this idea where, you walk into a gym, two people are there, let's say two men are there, they're in front of the mirror, and they're both lifting weights, they're both curling. They're lifting the same exact weight, and they're doing the same exact motion, same height, same everything, no variable difference other than their name, and let's say they're at nationality, right? You walk up to one guy, he goes, hey, what are you doing? He goes, I'm trying to get fit. Then you walk up to the next guy, you're like, hey man, what are you doing? He goes, I'm getting fit. The difference of, and I want to ask, who's that person that continues to go to the gym, and no matter how much they go to the gym, they just can't get fit, right? We all know that person that's just like always in the gym. They always talk about how much in their gym, and you look at them, you're like, dude, but you're like not even that much in shape, like why aren't you shredded? Versus who's the person that goes to the gym and then is telling themselves each rep, I'm getting more fit, I'm getting more fit. The same exact exercise. Who's the person that just miraculously ends up getting in shape way faster, ends up becoming way stronger in a quicker amount of time? Simply because that word trying, like quantum physically, pushes the result that you want away from you. In the same way that Tobin's saying the word can't actually doesn't even invite that into your reality. And what I think is really important with that, and I think something that you guys do both really well, is this type of like mind control, self-mind control first, right? And it's, it's something Jim Rohn says, right? It's like stand guard at the door of your mind. And I feel like both of you are very great at identifying what thoughts are coming into my awareness. How am I dealing with these thoughts now that they're in my awareness? How am I, then, what's the word I'm looking for? Being a conduit, let's just say, being a conduit for that energy to now like flow through me. So how can, our viewers, our audience, begin to have more mind control, right? Is it deeper breathing throughout the day so they can practice focus? Is it yoga? Is it reading? Is it prayer? I'm not too sure, but how does one begin to build their threshold for focus overall, which then manifests itself in like mind control and emotional control? So I want to start off with, let's say, with Angela.
That's a really good question. Well, of course, you have, again, the physical practices, quantum physical practices. You have yoga, you have the actual technique that comes in that definitely gets the body and mind there. But again, I'm going to bring back this word awareness and like humility, and you said that before. Just being aware of your thought patterns. These are thought patterns. These are things that come from experiences in life, oftentimes at a very young age. It's not the reality of things. So your reality can be recreated. So it's really about like admitting that everybody has patterns and everybody has cycles and everybody has things that they're dealing with, and that's okay, and that's the reality of things. So it starts there, and you're actually able to pull yourself outside yourself and look at yourself just as everybody else is, having their experience, having their family dynamic, having their school that they went to, having their house that they saw every day, their tree in their backyard. That creates a reality. So just knowing that that's different for everybody allows you to pull yourself outside yourself and examine yourself. It's okay, don't judge, there's no judgment. There's no wrong, there's no right, it's just is what it is. So if you're able to just get yourself to that space, again, yoga and all these things help, they just help facilitate, but to mentally get yourself to that space of, oh, it's okay, here's a thought pattern of mine, it's just like a science, it's just a science or a mechanism. And we don't need to get so ego-fied and so scared and fearful of
and identify with those
exactly, because we're not those things. They are patterns. So it's about becoming aware of those patterns, and that's where okay, this is a pattern I have. How do I rearrange this? What do I do? You take it from there.
And that's something also Eckhart Tolle says, right? Where, in the power of now, separating ourselves from our thoughts, being the observer of our mind, where it's realizing that we are actually not our thoughts, and something, like, I'll even openly admit, like, has any of you guys ever been walking and be like, when have I robbed a bank right now? Or like, I'm like, I'm not even lying, I've had these thoughts, I'm like, I take the subway every day, I'm like, how easy would it be for me to like put a bomb in this backpack and like bring it in here? Obviously that's not my thought, and the intention and all of that's not there, but it's this idea of as humans, we always are like having thoughts that are coming in and out of our mind all day, right? Taboo thoughts, positive thoughts, negative thoughts, relevant thoughts, irrelevant thoughts. And oftentimes a lot of those thoughts are not even ours, right? You know, Monica was on, talking, I think, last show or whatnot, about this idea of like anchoring, where other people's energy can actually get anchored into us unconsciously or consciously. The fact that somebody else is annoyed can actually make us feel annoyed. The fact that somebody else is insecure can actually make us feel insecure, whether it's coming from our, love partner, our family member, and our friend. And, that's also a way that I want to, parry into what Natalie asked here is what do we do, or how do we react to others who are negative to us and negative in our life? So I want to ask this to Tobin. What Natalie said, how do we react to others who are negative in our life? Now with this idea that others' energy, right, can actually affect our health and our thoughts.
So 2 ways to address that. Primarily, if there's a toxin anywhere around you, you usually should get it away from you. I know a lot of people go through phases of their life where they've personally grown and the environment around them hasn't grown to the same degree. Not to say it's up, but maybe deeper. So there's not a resonance anymore. We're not in harmony anymore. So sometimes getting out of that situation is beneficial for everybody. And then we can see as time goes on what was meant to be. My number one answer for that, though, if you're a self-aware person and you're on the journey, it sounds like you are from that question you asked, it is more than likely, and this is from my experience, what I've experienced, not anything I've read, and I have read this places, but from what my direct experience in this reality is through consciousness, that when we see something negative in somebody else, there is a good chance that we have that within ourselves, and we're not being honest with ourselves in that situation. What type of negativity is it? Is that our self-talk manifesting in somebody else and they're just reflecting it to us? They may not even be aware of what they're saying. I've had this with family members, my mother, my brother, my cousins, people that I truly, genuinely care for, judgment-free. Whatever they chose in their lifestyle is what it is, but for some reason, whenever I'm doing something outside of the so-called box, they always have something to say, and they come out of it like it's, oh, I'm trying to protect you. When my ego is not challenged by it anymore and I can step back, like Angela said, to a space where I can just perceive and have awareness of what's going on, I realized very quickly that some place that I had been unconfident or I had talked myself down or told myself I didn't deserve something, they were then bringing it up. So life, whatever you want to say, is this power that's organizing everything, sent it to me in a person that I knew I cared about so much that I wouldn't just write them off. If it was a random friend, I would have just blown them off and say, I don't need to work on that, whatever. But because it was somebody who I cared about and they said it genuinely, I was like, all right, it's time to deal with this. So perhaps most of the time in life when we see something negative in somebody else, that's something we have in ourselves that others are seeing that we're not seeing honestly.
Amazing. And to, again, bring it to the micro where people can begin to create new habits on the daily. So I have 2 different questions for each of you. So for Angela, what's a new habit or a new book? What's that first step for people to begin taking in order to either dive into yoga, right? Start learning more about yoga. What should we be thinking if we're like, I need to get good information, and I also need this in my life, but I feel overwhelmed that I can't see the path ahead of me. I need some guidance along the way.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say that is the second you start with anything, you sit down for meditation for a minute for one day, the next day you sit down for 2 minutes, it's actually going to start to unravel itself. It's taking just any initial step, and the universe is actually going to start playing its part for you. And things are going to be actually kind of just reveal themselves to you. There's all the books you can read, of course, the Yoga Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita. You have all the classic yogic texts. And if you are book knowledge and you want to read into that, it definitely awakens something in you to know where it comes from. First of all, it has a source, which is also inside of us. But it's really just about starting. As I'm telling you, that energy is going to snowball. You're going to start manifesting experiences into your life that are going to teach you how to go about doing this. But it's really about just doing it. Getting up, start your practice. It's all about self-practice. So really meditate. If you're not meditating already, please use that as the first tool, because when you get to that silent space, the space of oneness with yourself, it's just revealed. I mean, it just starts to reveal itself to you.
And something to you guys I want to add into something we spoke about with Monica is a meditation isn't like sitting in a space and having zero thoughts, right? It's not getting overwhelmed that, oh, I'm not meditating well enough, right? I'm not like not doing nothing well enough, you know, and that makes people overwhelmed, and you don't even like get the whole purpose of the meditation because you're actually pulling yourself out of the present by trying to fit yourself into some type of mold. And I have a question here from the audience. Well, Miguel says, attack negative with positive, love. Either love it or leave it. So I like that comment. Thank you for that, Miguel. And Marco had a question, and I'm curious if either of you guys have opinions on this, which is, what role can plant medicines play in self-realization? Are there many paths to the summit? So, Tobin, what do you think on that?
I'm going to wrap a few things together. You mentioned earlier in one of your questions, what does somebody do? Do they do yoga? Do they do this? All of it. I think being a student and remaining a student, and there's a level beyond that we discuss amongst my circle and friends. I am a full believer, after what I've been through, that this place that we're in is heaven, 100%. Now, my job on this planet is to teach people to see that. We see negativity and what would seem hell-like or purgatory-like and apathy all around us a lot. This world we're living in is utopia. It is heaven, but it is our responsibility to take the power back from ourselves, or give ourselves the power for the first time to make this place what we imagine it in our dreams. You guys are LNB. You're leaving the apathy behind just by nature of being a part of this group and manifesting your personal heaven. And I want to tell you right now, we may have met at the party, we have met individually, but I believe in you so much to manifest your dreams because I've done it. She's doing it, Joan's doing it, Rob's doing it. Every person that you see on here is manifesting their dreams, which means they're creating heaven in this hellish, purgatory-ish, nothing reality, purposeless reality. We all have purpose, which means it is our responsibility to bring this heaven energy. It's not a distant place, it's not a theoristic ideal, it's here. It's in our dreams, it's in our thoughts when we wake up every day. So doing yoga, practicing pranayama, through proper nutritional herbs that will resonate a certain energy in our body, eating properly, drinking clean water, thinking properly, cultivating ourself like a garden in our backyard, and being so enthusiastic when a tomato grows that we've never tasted a better tomato in our life is how we manifest heaven on earth and all of your dreams come true. The fact that we're all having this conversation and you're listening means every cell in all of our collective bodies are resonating this understanding and this awareness, and your dreams are coming that much closer to you. So when you wake up tomorrow, anything that you thought was insightful in this conversation, I want you to write it down and make that part of your daily habits. Manifest it in terms of the negative and the love and this. Love everything that comes up in your mind because that's meant to be, and it's meant to help you find this heaven reality and create it right in front of you every day.
Right.
You got a lot of love here, Tobin.
I just want to bring up really fast the plant medicines. Because there's a lot of cultures who use plant medicines, or we're all hearing about ayahuasca. Everyone's traveling to Central South America and exploring with these plant medicines. Again, just like pranayama, I see it as a tool, as a way to bring you to a different dimensional level. But these things are ceremonial. That's where we've kind of gotten lost. You know, we have like
self-indulge,
right? Self-indulge
and
misuse. Exactly. We have cannabis becoming legalized everywhere now, which is a great herbal medicine if it's used right. These cultures, there's first an hour ceremony, giving thanks to the plant and saying thank you nature, as these things come from nature and we are nature. So it's just used as a tool to facilitate the higher access to knowledge, which we also have access to through meditation as well. But as long as it's ceremoniously done right, I think it can definitely have a benefit for a lot of those people who are still trying to grasp and understand. And it brings a lot of actually cellular healing too. There is physical healing that comes from these plant medicines, so definitely.
And I definitely would agree with that as well too, because it's like this idea of like a reanimation.
Right.
And you know, when you look in hindsight of any part of your life, right? That moment when you just got like so much awareness and so much understanding, and your body started tingling, and you know, there's like flashes of white light, or you just like couldn't fall asleep. And it's that idea where, you know, it happens unconsciously, but it's this thought where it's like, I'm not the person that I was before I learned this, right? And that's what I believe is the feeling of your cells reatomizing, right? It's like changing that identity, changing the code within our cells, because you're like shifting conscious awareness, you know? So
Precisely, exactly.
And people are loving what you guys are saying. They're saying you guys know so much into this. They're very, very appreciative. And you know, instead of doing the personal growth tip, what we want to do here, and also guys, we're wrapping up the show soon. Make sure you share, because at the end of this show, we're going to be choosing 2 people that are going to win free energy sessions with both Tobin and Angela. You can go check out Temple Qinesis with Tobin, you know, or speak with Angela personally. So we want to make sure that you guys share the video, and at the end, we're going to be choosing 2 winners that are going to win that giveaway. But something that I wanted to bring up here, when it comes to your mind, allowing yourself to get into that space, right? Because I know that there's somebody out there that's like, this is all great. I've read about this in books. You know, meditation's just not for me, right? This whole energy stuff is not for me. And it is because, right, if we think about this idea of like unconscious incompetence, right? There may be people that are actually can't feel their energetic self because they are so removed from it, right? So what do we say to those people, you know, that feel, right? Because you can learn a lot of information, right? But knowledge is finite, right? So we have this deep knowledge, right? That everyone feels when you're saying like being present is the right way to be. Breathing is the right way to be, right? People deep down know that truth, yet they're going to face the challenges and obstacles where it's like, I'm doing this wrong, it's too hard, I don't have access to this, it doesn't feel right, and then they're just not even going to continue down that path. So how do these individuals who are just beginning, who are just starting their journey, how do they begin to gain access back into their energetic centers so they can even like participate, right?
Yeah.
What do you think, Tony?
My first instinct to go to is reconnect with nature. If the whole question was basically, how do these individuals that want to reconnect with themselves or find these abilities within themselves do so? Well, we're talking inner nature.
Yeah.
And going back to what I said earlier, well, if we're developing this relationship within ourselves that's going to then reflect outside of ourselves, then that's how we connect with ourselves inside. We go out to nature, and we've grown up in these buildings, these brick buildings, which are fabricated by humans. There's no natural energy left in these places, so get out. We live in North Jersey, one of the most beautiful jungles. I'm calling it a jungle because it's a jungle, is right here, 20 minutes from New York City. You can go to the Appalachian Mountains. You can go to ancient tribal Native American land where these natives are still living, and they're teaching people about how to live off the land properly. These things exist. You want to find them, you call me. We do this every single weekend, because if we want to learn about ourselves, I mean, my idol is a tree, right? It just grows vertical as high as it can its whole life, and it spreads its arms out as wide as it can, and at the same time it catches as much rainwater and sunlight and provides shade and opportunity for everybody.
It literally does
so
it all.
that's my idol, and I wouldn't have known that if I didn't grow up in Ringwood, in the middle of the woods, in a town that literally means old tree. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I was born to reflect. So that's my biggest recommendation for you. You want to figure this out, and it's a challenge, and it's too mystical or metaphysical or hypothetical. Get out into nature. Climb to the top of a mountain. If you want to climb the top of a mountain symbolically in your personal life or your professional life, go do it in reality. And when you're standing at the top of a mountain, most mountains around here, you can see the New York City skyline. That is epic.
It's epic.
It is epic.
It is epic.
And it will
It's
teach
totally
you
epic.
something about yourself that you never knew before. So that, I believe, would be step one.
Amazing. And did
Right.
you have anything to share?
Yeah, I think it starts with with wanting to as well. You have to want to find that space in yourself and want to understand what's going on with yourself in the world in order to even start to facilitate any change. But I do agree. I think it's returning back to nature, because what makes up this mystical, spiritual world also makes up the natural world, and that's what science does. Science and spirit go quite well together because science explains the phenomena and vice versa. So it is 100% about returning back to nature, because we've got it kind of taken away from us in a lot of our day-to-day living, and we forget that we are that tree. We breathe like that tree, so.
I love that idea, guys, right? It's like somebody asks you, like, who's your idol, who's your mentor? And you're like, redwood oak tree. This is a tree. I want to find my first mentor. Yeah, just go find a tree. So something else, guys, too, that we want to give this ability now, instead of going into like a personal growth tips section, for each one of you to, I guess, if you could summarize like a personal growth tip that you would like our audience to leave with, and even to magnify it more, right? And also give you some more time to think is, I love this question. Let's say you have a huge microphone right now and 7 billion people in the world are listening. You have this microphone with one message to say, right? And it's going to be the personal growth tip that you would say to all 7 billion people. What would you say?
Oh gosh, my personal growth tip is to spend some time alone. I think, especially with the advent of technology, we've become everyone always knows what we're doing. We always know what everybody else is doing, and that doesn't leave space for nature. So I would definitely say, be alone, find that space, put down the phone. I see way too much with people texting and talking to someone and having a conversation at the same time. And while all of this technology is going to essentially help us get to where we want to go, it's not going to help us revert back into nature and revert back into that connection with each other. That's something I feel it's taken away. So definitely being alone, having your space to do so. And that personal growth will essentially be the growth of the whole rest of the world. That's really my message, is self-care, self-awareness is going to lead to self-care and self-awareness for everybody.
Right. Because like what Biggie says, right? And also to Michael, everyone, right? Like, be the change you want to see in the world. It starts interpersonally before it can spread.
Yeah, just clearing away some of the technology for a little while, taking a break.
What about you, Tobin?
Setting aside time or space throughout our days to do so.
Right.
To be honest, I'm just grateful. I think that's a key. Yeah, I'm very grateful for you guys for this time. I never was guaranteed another moment or minute or hour, and it's been very miraculous since. So I catch myself being very grateful. And when I'm not, that's when things don't go as well as I wish them to go. So being grateful for the humans around me, for the space to breathe and be, and to resonate another thought through word that could potentially create a dream for me. I'm just very grateful for that. I'm grateful to wake up every day and see the sunrise again, and I'm usually there for every sunrise. And to see the sunset is a very important thing for me. I moved my business so I could see the sunsets, because we don't know which is our last. So gratitude for me is the center of myself at this point. When I get off center with that is when things stop going the way that they should. So that would be my big personal tip, is just be super grateful, not even to the people around you, but to yourself for the place that you are now because of the improvements you've made on your flaws and weaknesses so far. You're all diamonds, and we're meant to shine light. And without gratitude, I don't think we'll ever be able to reflect our light to the outside world, if that makes any sense.
Amazing. And the final question for both of you, I'll start with Angela, is what do the words "leave normal behind" mean to you?
Well, when I first heard it, I thought of what normal has become, what this cycle has become for everybody in their day-to-day life. What has been defined as normal? Get the job, go to college, get the job, have the house, which we can't even afford anymore. So that normal isn't normal for us anymore. So we're actually forced to leave that normal behind and adapt a new style. So
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
And for you, Tobin, what does leave normal behind mean to you? And I particularly like this too, because Tobin is an LNB member, so that's super awesome to bring on another, LNB member. We've had
Thank
Monica, Zion on here too. So shout out to the LNB community. You guys are so incredible. So Tobin, what do the words "leave normal behind" mean to you?
So I actually first met you before you had come up with that. I don't know if you remember that. And you and your brother were presenting an idea to me when I had this music collective. So I was just taking everybody in. So what we were actually doing was leaving our normal reality behind. I was trying to explain that to people in not so succinct terms. But it's taking our potential that we were born with and manifesting, as I would call it, the superhuman, or the Buddha, as the ancients have called it, or the Christ consciousness, or the avatar, as some cultures have called it. And that would be leaving normal behind. It's going from human to human 2.0. To me, that's what it means. And I've been equipped with the tools to help you guys do so. And I want to do so. So if you guys are interested, I will absolutely help you go from human 1 to human 2, level 2.
Hell yeah. And before we head off, I want to give you guys an opportunity to plug what you guys are up to. So I know Tobin, you have an event, but please share when your event is, where people can follow you on social media.
Definitely.
And give them any updates that you want to share.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you guys for watching. The event he's talking about, my gym, Temple Qinesis, is located at 1438, which is pretty cool. I love you to infinity. 1438, if you write it properly. Ringwood Avenue in Wanacue, New Jersey. So 1438 Ringwood Avenue in Wanacue on December 15th at 7 p.m. until we pass out. Joni will be DJing, another friend will be DJing. I'm having a party with giveaways, charities being supported. We're going to have healing services. We're going to have all types of great humans there. It's at Temple Qinesis for the holidays. Whatever you celebrate, wear that outfit. Wear your funniest outfit. Come join us. You can find me at Temple Qinesis, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all over the place. That's at Temple with a Qinesis. And then at The High Nature Kids is another brand I work with, which is empowering neurolinguistics, alchemy, transformation of consciousness from matter to spirit, just as we've talked here today.
Amazing. And for you, Angela, what are you up to? Anything that we should be on the lookout for? And how can we follow you on your journey?
Cool. Well, I've only been home for a month. I just got back from my second trip to India. As soon as I got home, I linked up with Tobin. So I am at Temple Qinesis teaching yoga, and I'm doing healing as well as private yoga sessions, private healing, stuff like that. Yeah, that's
Any
basically
social media handles?
Yes, I got rid of all my social media when I went to India, and I was traveling around and I was resetting myself. So I'm starting up on social media. My Instagram is Angela Caravaglia, my name, and then my Facebook page. You can add my personal Facebook as well, but I just started a Facebook page called Nature's Health Revolution.
Nice.
So you can check that out as well.
Amazing, guys. And they're both tagged here in the Facebook Live. So before we go, I want to individually thank both of you. Tobin, I really appreciate and acknowledge your ability to speak with such certainty and just be a force for light and positivity and goodness and really truly leading by example. I really appreciate that in you for sharing that with me and everyone on LNB TV. And also, Angela, you as well, your energy is just so calming and open, and you have a gift that people resonate with, and I feel it, right? When you walk into the room, and even just your level of presence is contagious. So I really, really appreciate you for that.